Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, got the crew. Micah, wearing a pink shirt. It's a little. I feel like I've not seen this shirt. It's a little different for you, but I like it. I love hot pink. I'm not gonna. I don't disrespect any guys who want to wear it. I'm not going to, but I always like seeing it. It looks good. How are you?
Thank you. This is actually a really old shirt. It's funny if I haven't worn it on a show because I wear this shirt actually a lot in real life. Like I wear this shirt almost every week in summer, and it actually says pink on the front because that's the brand.
Sure.
So this is an old Micah classic shirt. I just got a new Kindle case because Treble destroyed my old one, and that was also hot pink. So you'd like that too.
When I was in 8th grade, this was 2008, like peak skater emo culture. I had a pair of Etnies that were black and the logo on the side was hot pink because I was like, it's black and pink, but it's not too pink, you know?
I had DCs which was my favorite. I only wore DCs from middle school to high school. That's it. Those are my favorite shoes. And I had black ones with the hot pink DC logo on the side. I loved those shoes. I was so upset when they started to fall apart. My mom was like, you got to get rid of those old things. I was like, no.
Dude, those shoe brands, I mean, I think DC's still around. Etnies, maybe in a smaller, they've kind of faded into obscurity.
Because what's the other brand? What's the brand with the rhinoceros? Is that like Echo or something? Like you never see those anymore either. Like all of my favorite brands from back in the day. It's like, dude, do they even make these anymore?
Yeah. Everything that we loved as kids is, well, I would say dying, but basically nothing ever goes away other than, I guess, shoe brands. But Gene, how are you, my friend? I feel like for both of you, even though I saw you, I don't know when the last, maybe it was last Punching Up. I feel like it's been a while for some reason. So it's good to see you.
Since the Direct with Dreams, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, it's been a while. Nice shirt. Your Blythe shirt.
My Blythe. This is the one I got in Japan at the Torch booth. Their shirts, dude, I wanted to buy all of them. They were all from Software. They were hot. But
oh man. I could use some Elden Ring merch. I want a Ronnie the Witch figure or like little toy or whatever, but I don't know. They're hard to find.
Yeah.
I wish there was more from like official From Soft merch. Like the way Valve has their Valve store, or even Capcom has a Capcom store or whatever, or Sony has a Sony store. But I don't know. From Soft is just like, here's a great game that you'll never forget, and then they just fuck off forever.
Yeah. I saw they just released a coffee mug that is Alexander, like the jar. I guess it doesn't have to be specifically Alexander, but it's the jar guy.
Pot boy?
Yeah, it's the pot boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you put the coffee inside him and then you drink his innards. So
that's so cute.
So I was thinking maybe I'll get that. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm jealous of that Elden Ring blanket that you got, Gene. That thing.
Oh yeah.
That'd keep me warm for days.
Yeah, Brad has one too, I think.
You games media shilling out for these games, getting blankets in return. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'm glad.
Hey, it's not like we're having our life event sponsored or whatever. That's not a shot, by the way. Real quick, first of all, congratulations to Tim on his wedding.
Yeah,
I thought when I saw that, I was like, oh, so for people who don't know, Tim Geddes over at Kind of Funny just got married, and his wedding was like sponsored by like NVIDIA shit like that. And then I saw some chatter online, and people were like, "Oh, that's weird" or whatever. And it does seem weird. And then I realized that I had a 33rd birthday party, not even like my 30th or my 35th, just my 33rd birthday party sponsored by Bacardi.
Yeah.
At the Trump Hotel.
That's baller, dude. That's baller, dude.
Yeah. So if I could have a wedding that's sponsored by a huge company, I'd be like, fuck it, let's go for it.
There was a lot of conversation in our Discord about that. I do appreciate some people asked me if I wanted to live stream the birth of Herman Vermin. And I said only if it's sponsored by Aldi, to fit the Furman vibe. So
now, Dustin, you and Holly have those matching Aldi clothes. Do they have any baby clothes? Like, do you have anything set aside for baby Furman that's Aldi brand, or can you make like a dupe?
I don't think they've had any baby clothes because I think we would have. There's been at least 1 or 2 drops in the last 9 months, and I don't think there's been any. So we might have to custom make. And that's something I was thinking is that do we want to do this would be separate from our other limited run. This would not sell. Couple Sacred Symbols onesies, some LSM merch for the baby, that might be worth thinking about. I'm sure that 3 other people that also have infants might be interested. So maybe we can get those together. But this is Punching Up, as I mentioned, bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. Thanks everybody for being here. We love doing the show, hanging out. Of course, everything we do is through Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. You get early access to this show, $5 a month. You get early access to all of our other shows. You get the ability to write in at the $2 level, and we'll be bringing you guys in very soon here on this episode. And if you don't want to support us there, of course, subscribing on YouTube or leaving us a nice comment, all that stuff really helps. So before we get started, I did want to tell you guys I was at Too Many Games this past weekend. I have a few of my purchases I wanted to show you guys, which I posted these on Twitter, so I'm sure you guys maybe already saw it. But for the audience, I got a bootleg Mother 3. This was like $20, which you can get these on AliExpress for like $3, but whatever.
For sure.
So a little bootleg copy, since of course it does not exist in the US. This doesn't actually exist. This is like totally, it shows the splash screen about the fan translation and stuff like that. So that's cool. I also got, I'm curious if either one of you had one of these, Game Boy camera.
Oh, yeah, never had one.
Dude, these, I was taking some pictures of Frisk with it, and it is so terrible. Like the quality, like it comes up, it's like maybe 2-3 frames a second as you like try to take a picture. But it's kind of got an aesthetic. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And if you have the Pocket, you can take screenshots so you can digitize them like super easily. So I was messing around with this a little bit. I had one of these growing up, but it's just a nice little relic. Then my big boy purchase, the Game Boy Micro, which I've been wanting for years, but told myself I didn't need it. And then this year I said, fuck it. And I bought it.
That's so small.
Dude. So people, when I posted this, they're like, what are you going to play first on it? And so in here right now, I have Super Mario World. So this is Super Mario Advance 2.
Nice.
And I'm getting a little... I've always felt like I've been bad at Super Mario World specifically of the Mario games. Like I'm much better at 3. But playing it on this tiny little screen, there's been some moments I'm like, man, this is definitely hurting the play experience, but it's so cute and the novelty of it is so high. But yeah, I got this for, I worked out a little deal. It was $155 for this. That's pretty good. So pretty good. And it's in nice condition. I love this thing too, because the back of it is like metal. It feels like almost an Apple made Nintendo device in terms of build quality, because it's still plastic on the front, but it's like change the faceplates. The L and R buttons, though, you can't actually click them on the ends. You have to click them in. So when you hold it, you're like, it's a little
crab claw action there.
It's a little jank, but yeah, it was a great time.
Remember when video game companies used to just make stuff and just like sell it? I guess Sony is doing that with PSVR 2, and then people are like, remember the PSVR 2 and how none of us played it.
So let's see, like there was the original Game Boy Advance, then there was the SP, SP with brighter screen technically, so a revision update. Game Boy Micro. So we had all these different versions, and I guess we have 3 versions of Switch, because we have the OG revision update with better battery life, Switch Lite, and Switch OLED. So we've got a couple different variants. But
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. And yeah, the Game Boy was a variant too. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying because Xbox just announced like 4 different systems like a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
For no reason, but they all look the same though. That's the issue. Like with a different coat of cover. But like, look at that Game Boy Micro. Like, there's nothing that looks like that anymore.
Dagan didn't
Or
even
ever.
knew that this existed when I showed it to
Yeah.
him at the show. He's like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "It's a Game
Wait,
Boy
who?
Micro." So
Who didn't know?
Dagan,
Dagan. Wow.
yeah,
Really?
he was totally unaware. Which I'm pretty sure this
Oh.
came out slightly after the DS, which is why people are like, "Why I don't want that. If I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to get a DS that also plays Game Boy Advance games." So
Hmm.
it makes sense. But yeah,
I swear to God, Nintendo's going to release a Switch Lite OLED after like a year or two after the Switch 2 is out.
yeah.
It's like,
Well, they did
God
release.
damn it, I want that too.
They released
Even after the
Nintendo
Switch 2 is out, I
2DS.
would still want that.
Yeah. The best. Some people consider that 2DS XL the best DS or 3DS that came out. The one that was like either orange or blue trim on it.
Yeah. I kind of wanted that one, yeah.
Gene, do you have any of the Zelda 3DSs?
No.
Dude, Brad was asking me to look for one for him. And I was looking and they are expensive. Like
For sure.
$300 to $600 depending on what it comes at least. Like I don't even think I saw one for $3 there. But yeah, too many games. Totally awesome convention, primarily focused on retro games. So huge area where you can go and shop. They had cosplay wrestling again, which I got to watch a little bit of. That was pretty cool. A bunch of different panels. We were there because me and Ben and Dagan were doing a Last Stand panel, and we had a great time. We got to meet a bunch of you there, which was super cool. And we also so we had our panel, and then we had like a meet and greet session. And then we were like, anyone who's here that's hanging out, we're going to go to this brewery. So we went to a brewery, ate food. It was a great time hanging out with everybody. So thank you for coming out. We appreciate you. It was awesome. And hopefully again next year. And Gene, you said it sounds like you're a little interested. If you ever want to come out and hang with us, we can expand the panel even further.
Yeah, I heard you ran into some celebrities while you were there, so I mean, you can talk about that. But it's not that far away from here. And the fact that so many renowned people like yourself and this guy named Dagan is there. But yeah, who else did you see there?
I'm trying to think. So I mentioned before we started recording, I talked to Spawnwave and Mystic Ryan. They were both super cool. Who else did I run into? Well, and I saw Angry Video Game Nerd from a distance, but I was too scared to say hi to him. I was like, no, I can't. I'd rather not. Like, I have a perfect memory of I'm sure he's amazing. And everyone I've talked to, they're like, oh yeah, he's awesome. He's super cool. But it was at a hotel after the event. I'm like, he's just trying to chill out. He doesn't want to talk to me. I'm just going to leave him alone. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think who else was there. There was a bunch of like voice actors, like the lady who voices Lady D on Resident Evil.
Yeah.
That won the Game
Maggie
Award
or something, but yeah.
And the guy that plays, I can't remember his name either, the gay vampire on Baldur's Gate.
Oh, Neil Newbon. I met him.
Yeah, he was at that hotel afterwards too. Like,
okay.
Our friend Justin, who runs Eon Gaming, which they sell like adapters to make your GameCube HD or not HD, but have HDMI out. We're good friends with him, and he's like, "Hey, come, we're hanging out here." And so that's where we went to the hotel, and that's apparently was like the spot. It's like he was there. I talked to Bob Wolf for a little bit, which was cool.
Wow! See all these notable people showing up. So I should show up too.
Yeah.
So maybe next time we'll do an LSM panel.
I also got to talk to the people that do the Game and Talk, or Josie from Game and Talk, and I met RTG85 briefly on the show floor. So, but
I love
real
them.
briefly. But yeah, it's really an up and coming show as far as like people coming out to it. I know Scott the Woz was there 2 years ago.
Wow, no kidding. See,
so
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Not that meeting RGT would have been cool too. I've been a big fan of RGT for a long time, and Yeah, and Josie Woe, who's an up and coming Gen Z creator that's been growing up through John's Spawnwave network.
Mhm.
And she shows up on the Spawnwave podcast every Saturday, and I watch almost every Saturday. It's always it always comes up at a good time at 9 p.m. Right, I'm just like chilling and playing a game, and I can use a cool podcast. But they always defer to Josie because she's like the Gen Z representative of that panel. So anytime we talk about anything that's like they're like old, they're like, "Hey Josie, what do you think about this?" And she'd be like, "I was like 7."
Yeah, she was telling me about some of
She
these.
seems really cool though.
Yeah, she was telling me about some of these, some wild takes about some games. I'm trying to remember what specifically, like some of the ones that John was saying. That's like she just owns it though, and I appreciate that. We need people to just own opinions and not, get wishy-washy about them.
Yeah,
but
good for her. Yeah. And she's becoming a good creator in her own right. Her channel's been growing. So
yeah,
RGT2, our favorite Nintendo podcaster or Nintendo YouTuber, as you like to say.
Yeah.
Shout out to RGT because RGT was one of the guys who like really stuck out for me when I was getting ratioed for showing up at Colin, and he was like, "Fuck everyone," and I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man." So RGT is the homie, and he always shouts me out in his channel too.
Nice, yeah. But yeah, it was cool meeting everybody. Fun time. Too many games. You should go at some point because it's a really fun show over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Sacred Symbols is the one who introduced me to Mystic Ryan because, Colin kept talking him up, and Colin kept talking about how he's like the biggest PlayStation YouTube creator, and I didn't really think about that because I'm like, I don't really follow PlayStation YouTube,
Right.
I don't really follow Xbox YouTube that much, but I checked out Mystic's channel. He's fantastic, actually. His channel is amazing, really, really good. I get why he's the #1 PlayStation creator. He covers PlayStation similar in the way that I think Marquez Brownlee would cover a lot of different companies, or the way Marquez Brownlee used to cover like Apple and everything. Really, really thorough. Really, really understands the PlayStation landscape and like the tech that we have, because he'll do like stuff like, here's like 50 quick tips about on how to optimize your PS5 experience. And there's some stuff that I completely forgot about or didn't know about. And so it's like, yeah, man, like it's really good that there's a guy like Mystic out there who's like just super hardcore PlayStation, like everything PlayStation. Like if you're, and your entire ecosystem is PlayStation, that's it, because there's just so many Nintendo podcasts out there. You just mentioned 3 of them: RGT, Scott DeWaz, and Bob Wolf,
Yeah.
But yeah, Mystic is definitely a step above. So shout out to Mystic too.
He has a series that I think he does every year, or at least have for a few years now, where he goes on PSN on PlayStation 3 and sees who's still playing these PS3 games online. And sometimes he'll get to like talk to them and ask them like why they're playing PS3. It's like a pseudo interview in some way. Really cool content. And I was telling you this off camera, and I'm going to tell you on camera. Super nice guy. Super. I was like, dang, this guy's legit. Sometimes you meet someone and you're like, whoa, it's a nice guy. I hope I can be as nice as him someday, but probably not. So keep trying.
Always good to hear.
Yeah. Okay, let's get started with a few quick write-ins. One from King Kulak, who says, "What's bracking brick bustas?" I don't know if bracking is a typo, but I'm going with it. So I just want to say,
a real word.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to say that I wake up every day grateful that my toddler son is obsessed with Mario and not Sonic. That is all. This guy's got me thinking, do I try to hide Sonic from my kid as he grows up so that he's not exposed to wrong think, really, of Sonic? And mainly out of fear of radicalization, of if he sees Sonic, gets too into it, could be an issue. Only Mario. But the other thing, too, is that, there's the thing with kids that if I hide Sonic from him, that's going to make him want more Sonic.
Yeah, it's going to go on the internet, search a few terms.
He pulls up incognito mode, searches Sonic.
Exactly.
Try to hide from his dad.
Check the browser.
the browser history for Sonic.
Can I just say that I think we were just coming off the presidential debate constellation, which got a lot of people riled up in the comments on Patreon, which is always good to see. I like seeing that.
Sure.
But we talk about Trump derangement syndrome, right? I think LSM has a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog derangement syndrome. I think you guys are a little bit too harsh on Sonic. Everybody seems to hate Sonic, and I think it's a little bit outdated. I think you guys are still operating in the 2009, 2000 to 2012 Game Grumps era. Micah would notice of making fun of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's like, no, I think we pushed past that now. I think Sonic's okay. Sonic's okay. You know?
I think you just got to pick the right one. Is it Sonic Adventure 2 that has like the Halloween world in it and like the Halloween rap?
Yeah,
I like that one a lot on GameCube. That one was fantastic.
Yeah, Knuckles rap. Yeah.
You just got to show him the right Sonic game. But then if he's too into it, you show him, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and you're like, now this is dog shit. Look how the frames are all wrong. And like, look how when you're running forward, your friends just disappear. Like, then you show him just how bad the new games are. So it's only the classics that you want him to play. That's the key to this.
And Sonic Frontiers. Everyone forgets that Sonic Frontiers is actually a great game. It's actually a solid at least 7.0, So
I feel like there might be something.
Maybe we're turning the page because your child won't be exposed to like Sonic Boom or Sonic 06 or any of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might just have Sonic Frontiers and just give him Sonic Adventure 2 and that Sonic cartoon on Netflix,
right?
But to King Kulak's point, it is much better to be a fan of Mario. Than Sonic, 1,000%. So
you might be onto something, Gene, with the Sonic derangement syndrome, because I'm thinking like we're ranting, like saying like, oh, he's a pedophile. If he takes the number one spot, he's never going to leave. He's going to change the rules. There's all these things. I think you might be right. You might be onto something. So
these other guys make Persona and Yakuza too. So just let them have Sonic for a little bit.
So the next question here is from Neo JD. Something very important. He said, "What's the status of Dagster's return?" And that's a great question because we were informed just last week that Dagon's job is changing. He's going back to his old job, if I remember correctly. So Dagon's availability is opening back up, and so he'll be joining us once again on Punching Up. Gene, did you know this? Because I just realized I don't know if we talked about it.
I did read the Discord. Yes.
Oh, right. It was in Discord. We just didn't talk about it one-on-one, right?
No, we were talking about it. It'll be really funny if I'm like, wait, Dagon's coming back? Fuck no.
Yeah. Well, the element that I was thinking of surprise is that I was planning after that Discord message from Colin that we would make it a big excitement on this show, And then on Sacred Symbols, there was a couple questions about Dagon, and I was kind of being sly, not saying anything or whatever. And then Colin just blurts it out right on Sacred Symbols. He's like, oh yeah, Dagon's coming back to Punching Up and Constellation pretty soon. I was like, oh, well, there it is. So if you haven't heard on Sacred Symbols, we're telling you right now, Dagon's coming back. I don't know when. It will most likely next episode. And so, yeah, while he's here, Brad will still be filling in for me, taking hosting duties while I'm gone. So it'll be a very different dynamic for a little bit.
Wow, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen Brad and Dagon on a show. I don't think they've ever been on one, right, Micah?
Oh, like they definitely on Constellation together, I assume,
okay.
Right? But otherwise, no, I don't think they has Dagon been on Summon Sign? I don't know if we ever got him for that because recording on Mondays was really tricky for Dagon. So I don't think we ever actually got them on that together.
Yeah. So Dagon,
new wrinkle in the LSM family, right? So there you go.
Yeah. So there you go. Dagon will be returning. Hopefully next episode. We're not entirely sure yet, but it will be happening. Okay. Let's get into our first news topic. And so just, I think it was last week, recently, Nintendo, after all of their end of year stuff, held a shareholder Q and A meeting. Currently, it has not been officially translated for us to read, but various people have gone and found different bits of information to talk about. And so I picked out 3 things from the Q&A currently we have access to talk about. And I thought there was a couple cool ones. So let's start first with Miyamoto. And a question to him. This was translated by N Styles on Twitter. The question was, I'd like to ask Mr. Miyamoto a question. Creators are aging. I want them to continue making games, but I also want them to take care of their bodies. I'd like to know if Miyamoto-san will continue to take the lead in making games. And here is Miyamoto's response. He says, Thank you for your concern. As expected, being the oldest amongst them, it makes me nervous. I feel comfortable working at the company. It's not like I don't look at game development at all, but I have the younger generation make it without doing any actual work, and I've been able to pass on it smoothly. But the people I've taken over the job from are also getting older, so it's better to have younger people make it. I also want to take over. I'm very involved with Pikmin Bloom, so I appreciate your support. So reading this, I guess even just the question being asked, made me feel kind of sad in a way. It's a nice question to, present, to be like, hey, Miyamoto, are you taking care of yourself? But it was a sad reminder that a lot of these creators, that the legends that not only made Nintendo, but gaming in general, are getting to that age. And so I thought this answer, while it wasn't necessarily like any kind of juicy details, but just kind of like, yeah, I'm letting other people take over, and I'm kind of just doing my thing, and I'm good. So, Gene, I wanted to ask you, have you ever had the pleasure of meeting Miyamoto? If anyone I know has, it's you, but maybe not.
No, I've never met Mr. Miyamoto. We've spoken over email, but we've never actually either Zoomed or met in person. I guess the highest level of people. I met Eiji Aonuma, right?
Right.
And I've met Koji Kondo. So I met people definitely around Miyamoto's orbit. I'd love to meet Tezuka, who is like the producer and director of like Super Mario 3 and Super Mario Wonder and everything like that. Like he's definitely like the right after Miyamoto, the other Mario guy.
Right.
But yeah, I would love to meet Miyamoto. Time's running out. As Nintendo says, he is getting older, but it's nice. It's also nice to know that he's also chilling and having a good time still. It's good.
Micah, what do you think? It's tough. We want to hold on to our most beloved creators, but at the same time, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, Miyamoto, you've done enough. You've done more than enough for not only Nintendo fans, but like the world in general with all the different works he's made. I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, dude, if you wanna retire and chill out on the beach and drink a Corona or something, go for it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dustin. And we mentioned this on Summon Sign, actually, the most recent episode. Just talking about Nintendo, how their executives have very modest salaries compared to other companies. And, Miyamoto included in that, and how it clearly shows his passion for the company and just how much he hopefully truly loves working there, that this is someone who could work anywhere for a lot more money, and he's stuck with Nintendo. So I hope that he's continuing to stay on because he loves to see what's new, because he loves to still contribute ideas. I certainly do hope, though, that he enters some sort of like soft retirement, just because I think he deserves it. It'd be fantastic for him to still have creative input and still be, if he wakes up at 3 a.m. with an idea, I hope he emails them immediately, right? Like, I don't want him to ever be fully retired, because I think he still has some cool stuff kicking around in that old noggin. But I do have, it's how I felt about Charles Martinet retiring from voicing Mario, of like, it is a little sad to think about Miyamoto, really stepping back, and especially due to age, But I do think he's earned it. This is someone who's contributed so much to gaming, but I would hope that he always has like a little passion project of some kind, or, the same way that, Studio Ghibli, it's like, oh, this is the last one I'm doing. I swear to God, it's the last movie I'm doing. And he's like, he just keeps making more movies.
Right.
Maybe Miyamoto won't be able to actually step away, and he'll just continue to at least funnel them ideas or advice for new games. Because it would be a very strange world to not have him be part of Nintendo, in any capacity.
Right. Yeah, there gets to a point where you've earned it, you know? This isn't the US government, you know. He can go and retire. We don't need to wheel him out and have these two old guys debate on stage, you know? It's like they know the limits, unlike we do over here. So
Over in America.
we're in America where it's a much more important position than
And Miyamoto's younger than both of these guys too, which is
oh no.
the
Oh,
magnitude
no.
of the oldness of that's why I tweeted the other day. I was like, "Yo, Bill Clinton is still younger than both of these guys." Bill Clinton was president in the 90s. That's like 30 years ago, and he's still younger than both of these guys. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here comes Nintendo. Be like, no, you know what, Miyamoto, you can take a break. You know, we got all these other guys. You know, just have fun. You know?
Yeah. I think
So
Nintendo.
like, I got in trouble by at work because Mitch those press conferences when Mitch McConnell would freeze up.
He just totally blue screened of death. You know.
Yeah, it just like completely forgets where he's at. And I tweeted that he's like old and decrepit, and I got in trouble at work for that. And I'm just like. I'm just tweeting about what I saw, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made. Do you guys know the video of the dog? They're holding like a cupcake in front of it, and he's like using all his willpower not to eat the cupcake. That's like the exact face that he made on stage. It was just like exactly that dog, like wide-eyed and just like, don't eat the cupcake, don't look at it.
Yeah, so I got in trouble for that comment, and it's like that's exactly the kind of thinking that's in Washington D.C. right now, right? Sorry to like be a sequel from Constellation. And bring a little bit of that into here, but it's like that's exactly the kind of mentality that's in DC right now, where they're like, you're not supposed to say that about the president, even or Mitch McConnell, you know, shut up, you know, who cares if he shit his pants? Don't say that out loud, you know. But that's how we treat people here in DC, you know. It's all about decorum and how it looks. It's very frustrating, man. It's like we can't just call it like we see it because these people are in power and they're like, shut up.
Yeah. Whereas obviously Nintendo is very different, but you have a shareholder who in Japan is asking about, be like, hey, are you good? You good, dog? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Obviously, very, very different than a government level high position, but
yeah, I mean that's what we're all asking Biden right now. Like, you good, dog? Like, are you? Can you? Do you remember where you are? Yeah. Anyways,
dude, I sorry, not to make a political tangent. I saw clips from him debating 4 years ago, and I was like, wow, it is so.
Wow.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's truly sad. And it's not even from a political standpoint at all.
It's sad. Yeah.
It feels really sad.
It's sad to see someone like that deteriorate right before our eyes, like in the public view, you know?
Right. Just from a human perspective, it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Just like Miyamoto, get this dude on a beach, and you know he can whistle at girls respectfully and drink beer and just hang out, you know. But
yeah,
fortunately, he's running the free world.
That was what my tweet about Mitch McConnell was. I was like, look at him. He could be playing Elden Ring instead, you know. Jesus, you know.
Imagine that. That would be. He's the type of guy that would get stuck at Tree Sentinel right at the beginning and think that he has to beat him. You know,
probably. Like with the vigor of Kai Cenat.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, you know, the comments under our Constellation presidential debate comments are one really harsh on Jaffe. I guess I wish you guys would like just ease the gas off on Jaffe. I know that he kind of like leans really hard into like the liberal point of view that you would see on MSNBC and stuff like that. But just recognize it for what it is. That he just watches a lot of MSNBC, and he's just that kind of guy. He's about as normal as anyone else, right?
Right.
But I feel like some of the comments are like, "Oh, he's so unhinged and he's so psychotic." It's like, I mean, he just sounds like anyone else who watches MSNBC. But number two, I saw a lot of comments. People are like, "Why is he always on every political episode?" And I was like, "Well, you know, he's entertaining for one." But then two, I saw some people were like, why can't we have Dustin on one of these episodes? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what?
I don't want to personally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
it's.
Oh, go ahead, Micah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, as the person who schedules these shows, when we have special themed episodes, people will tell me, "Oh, I want to be on that."
Mhm.
And I'm not, it's like, I'm certainly not going to be like, Dustin, you have to be on the political episode. It's like, no, there are not everyone who works here wants
Mhm.
to do those intense episodes, especially with the feedback that they get. You'll never catch me doing one of those episodes, that's for sure. Like, it's really just like, no, it's entirely up to the hosts if they want to do a special themed episode or not. Because when we planned all this out, like Colin presented the idea to the group, because I planned the shows out in advance. He was like, hey, do you guys want to do this topic? And so it's like, no, it's completely up to the hosts what they want to do. It's like, there's no conspiracy of keeping Dustin off of these. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanted to do one, you would certainly be invited.
Right.
But
We're
a
not
lot
trying
of
to.
us just don't want to.
Yeah, we're not trying to hide Dustin's political beliefs or anyone. Just
No.
to be clear.
Well, the thing for me about I wouldn't even just say political episodes, but political topics, which I have shared some of my political views. The issue, or not an issue, just the way I feel about it for me is that being political isn't a big part of my life, despite
No,
having
yeah.
political views, strong political views, I would say. It's just not something, it's like, it's this weird mix of I care and I don't care at the same time. But the most important thing just for me is that I don't want my political views to be part of what defines me for people, because I don't care about it that much, you know? And especially with online stuff, it's like, if you have any political views, that's a defining feature to the audience. They will latch onto it. And so
people think that I'm like some kind of crazy leftist out there, you know?
Right.
Because I'm like, you know, I don't know. I say one thing, you know?
I love having political conversations in person. I've had political conversations in person with listeners before, and it's always been very good. But I don't know. It's not for me. As Micah was saying, it's just like I'm a sensitive person that has gotten battle hardened from doing this for a few years now, and I just don't need it. I know myself. I don't need it because, and it goes back to, I don't care enough as far as a talking about it aspect. I think it's important stuff, obviously, but I don't need it to be part of my brand. I'm good.
It means you're a normal person, Dustin. It means you're a normal person like everyone else who doesn't bring up politics on like the first date or whatever. And they're like, well,
Right.
like, who did you vote for? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that's
Exactly. Like, my interaction with politics is generally, I care enough to do things such as I watched the debate, I'll vote, but like, I'm not going to be the person who's telling other people what to do, what to think, or any of that. It's like, I'm going to make my own decisions. I'm going to interact with this, you know, as it applies to my own life. But it's like, no, I don't need to tell anybody who to vote for, what to think, and they don't need to know what I think, because they don't give a shit either. That's the other side of it. It's like, no one cares what I think, and I'm very aware of that.
Yeah. It's tough out there, and it's only going to get tougher as the months go on. So anyway, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Miyamoto.
Sorry for that tangent.
Miyamoto, who are you voting for?
Yeah, but Nintendo podcast.
Yeah.
Miyamoto's running for president, but we think he's cool.
Exactly. Yeah, Miyamoto. That's right. That was a hell of a tangent.
Yeah.
But a good one.
All right, let's talk about another thing that was talked about at the shareholder Q and A meeting, and that was on Switch 2 shortages. They were asked about, like, what are you planning to do? What's going to happen? Because Nintendo consoles often have shortages at launch. And so the president of Nintendo, Furukawa, said this: as a countermeasure against resale, we believe that the most important thing is to produce a sufficient number to meet customer demand. And this idea has not changed since last year. In addition, we are also considering whether or not there are other measures that can be taken to the extent allowed by laws and regulators, taking into account the circumstances of each region. Although we were unable to produce sufficient quantities of Nintendo Switch hardware last year and the year before due to shortage of semiconductor components, this situation has now been resolved. At this time, we do not believe that the shortage of components will have a significant impact on the production of the successor model. Crimson Sun writes in about this and says, hey, crew, do you have any thoughts on the recent Nintendo shareholders meeting? Apparently, they are preparing to make enough Switch 2s to account for scalpers. The semiconductor problem isn't an issue anymore. I've heard that that CEO Shintaro Furukawa makes 2.2 million USD a year, a far cry from executives at other gaming behemoths make. What do you make of this? Keep punching those buttons. So yeah, they are being, it sounds like, proactive about this situation, that they want to make sure they have enough to meet demand. And this is really interesting to me. There's half of me that believes them, that they are so popular right now that they have a lot to gain from having as many units available. No one's waiting around. No one's like waiting for a new Switch, but maybe they spend their money else while they're waiting. But it's at the same time, it's been kind of Nintendo's status quo that they, whether they say it's true or not, or are doing it intentionally, their stuff has shortages, and it creates insane demand, and it creates buzz and hype around the products when people can't get it. Notably, Nintendo Wii shortages were insane. People couldn't get them for months, to the point where if you had one and you saw one at a Walmart or a Target, sometimes people would just buy them so they could get one for their friend, or they knew that someone would want them. It was that level of like a total, something you see like a rarity out in public. So I'm not really sure whether or not I believe them fully. But Micah, what do you think about this? And also, too, the other detail is just that they're maybe willing to take legal action, if possible, against scalpers.
Yeah, so I do actually believe them on this, because I'm with you, Dustin. Pretty much, like, scarcity is Nintendo's bread and butter when it comes to our beloved Amiibo, when it comes to games. Sometimes it's just like they just have this thing. They seem to be the guy who thinks, oh, this is cool because it's rare, versus just being like, hey, let's make more money. So, but I trust them on this. My biggest thing is that the Switch 2 has been delayed. Like, the Switch 2 is late. The current Switch is old. It just feels like an absolute, like, look, anyone like myself who is still playing their original Switch is going to buy this thing. You don't have to worry about making too many. You don't have to worry that, oh, well, maybe everybody who has a Switch Lite isn't going to want to upgrade, because it's relatively new. Like, no, I'm telling you, bro, like, everybody like me who's playing a really old one is going to buy the new one. We're ready. I'm still kicking myself for not getting the OLED Switch after all this time, So I do trust them that they're going to have, hopefully, a decent supply. Now, what they consider to be a good supply, will it actually be sufficient? I don't know. But I do trust them that they are trying to actually be ahead of demand this time around. And realistically, I had an easier time getting a Switch than I did getting like the Xbox Series X, for example, a couple of years ago. Like, man, I spent 3 hours trying to order that Xbox. And I had a relatively easy time getting a Switch. I could only get the gray one. I couldn't get like the red and blue one. That was sold out everywhere. But I was able to order one, get one on launch. So I don't know. I trust them. I trust that they're at least going to try and make this easier for consumers. I trust that they want to sell a lot of these. So I have some reservations like you do, Dustin, but whether they actually pull this off or not, I'm not sure, but I think they do intend to try and have this sorted out.
You bring up a good point in that, and maybe I'm misremembering, but when Switch launched, sure, it wasn't in stock all the time. There was times when it was like they had sold their allotment, but they weren't really that difficult to get if you were trying to get one. Even slightly after launch, I remember good friend of the show, Brandon, helping him get one because it was like, I'm at work when one of these becomes available. Can you get one? There's no problem. So maybe they are learning the error of their ways. But Gene, what do you think about this? Because I'm sure you remember well many Nintendo shortages in the past.
Yeah, I remember the Wii shortage because I was not affected by it, because I went out and stayed in line at Best Buy at like 5 a.m. I remember I was living with my ex-fiance, and I just decided that night. I was like, "Hey, babe, you want to get a Wii?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll go to Best Buy. I'll be back in the morning, I guess." And then yeah, I just camped out and waited and then had a Wii, and then it just became the hottest item of when was that? What, 2006? Oh my goodness, that's so long
Yep.
ago.
I was in 7th grade, Gene.
I'm feeling like Joe Biden now.
Yeah.
You're a loser and you're a sucker.
You're a sucker.
But the Switch though, I actually had a hard time getting the Switch back in 2017. I didn't think about buying one because I had Breath of the Wild and the Wii U, and I was like, I can wait, right? And then I was going through a breakup. I think a couple months afterwards, like around May or June, because the Switch launched like around March, right? 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so around like May or June, I went through a breakup, and I was like, oh, I really need a new video game console right now. I really need to put a salve over this wound in my heart. Got over it in like a week, but because I got a Switch really, really quickly. But I had to buy it off Craigslist, off some. I think I mentioned it before, off of just complete stranger.
Oh yeah, the shady deal.
Yeah. Just some guy at Safeway. And he sold it to me for $450. So nice solid markup for my OG Switch, but definitely worth it. I even got snipper clips. And there's nothing like a good launch cycle to get you to buy random games that you're never going to play or never need. I have no doubt that they're probably just going to make a whole bunch. Because you're right. I don't think it was as bad as like the PS5. Because I think maybe after a year or so, the Switches start to come out, and yeah, I bet that they have really, really solid projections on how it's going to sell, millions and millions.
Yeah,
like, out the gate right away. Like Colin says, what you'll see how unhealthy the console market is once the Switch 2 comes out.
Mm-hmm. And Gene, while we're with you here, what do you think about Furukawa making 2.2 million in USD as a CEO? Just because, as we know, CEOs make insane money over here, and this has always been a tough topic. And I think Colin and I are aligned, and it's an unpopular take. I'm in the area where it's like, yes, I think CEOs make too much money overall, but I also think that they should make a lot of money because they have an insanely tough job, insane level of responsibility. Their work is their life. And I think about this with 2.2 million, like, damn, dude, like I feel like he should make at least 3 times this, maybe more.
A little bit more.
He's the president of fucking Nintendo. 2.2 million. Like there's people that live in Butler that make more than 2.2 million. I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere.
That's crazy.
I'm sure, dude. Yeah, I know there's like, if you
but
think
yes, you're right. That's how crazy American salaries are. American CEO salaries are. That they're out of control. I used to work for an insurance company in Hawaii. They just sell insurance, right? It is the biggest insurance company in Hawaii, but our CEO made $1.8 million. Just $400,000 less than the president of global entertainment conglomerate Nintendo. But this guy, the CEO in Hawaii who sells insurance to a couple thousand folks who work hard, makes almost as much, and whose decisions matter for a lot of people, especially health wise, and his health insurance is so it's also fucked up, right? Because what's health insurance? Come on, man.
Don't even get me started on
such a fucking scam industry,
Yeah.
And that dude makes $1.8 million. Our publisher at the Washington Post probably makes about as much too, and he has a much smaller reach in terms of the global media footprint, right?
Right, and just think about profit generated, like as a company, how much wealth you accumulate, right? Like,
yeah. If you're not paying a couple dozen people millions and millions of dollars all the time, yeah, it actually does feed back into the company. It actually does matter. There is a reason why Nintendo is the most profitable company, even though they may not make the most revenue. They are much happier with the money they make than either PlayStation or Microsoft.
Micah, do you have any thoughts on this about the a 2.2 mil. It feels like in this economy, no, don't get me wrong. I've never come anywhere near $1 million. Sounds amazing, but 2.2 million, it's like the Austin Powers, like $1 million, and it's like it's not that bad or not that much in the grand scheme of things for someone of this stature.
No, I'm with you. And this is actually when Colin gets upset with me for saying I'd wish for $1 million from a genie. And he's like, $1 million is not that much money. I was like, but it's all I need. I brought this up on Summon Sign because I was praising Nintendo for this because I feel like it's part of why we keep getting interesting games from them.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we keep getting games as a service from so many of these companies that their CEOs make $2 million a day, basically? And it's because, well, you need to have these games that just milk money out of the customers endlessly. You can't have Princess Peach Showtime by Activision. They need to make something that you're going to pay for over and over and over, whether it's skins, battle passes, all that shit. It's just like, I feel like it's a really big reason why Nintendo keeps giving us unique things, new things, and just games that are, single player focused, even because they're not trying to pay this guy $1 billion. They don't need to make $1 billion on this single game for it to be successful. And I think it's a good thing. I do think they should make more than they do. I do think that even with keeping in line with their principles, that we're kind of talking about here, I think they could make more. But also, these people are hopefully very happy in their positions for the fact that they haven't gone anywhere else. Miyamoto could go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Miyamoto would be snapped up in a heartbeat if he left Nintendo. So I hope that it means that these people who work here for what, comparably are lower salaries are truly content and happy with their work. I hope they have a great, work atmosphere and everything. I hope that the reason why they're staying is because they do love it there. And hopefully that company culture is part of what makes having a lower salary worth it to them, because they would be very desirable employees at other companies.
Yeah.
Michael brings up a funny perspective of Miyamoto. Imagine Miyamoto leaving Nintendo and you see a press release for like one of these companies from the maker of Mario. Here comes Orango Gameworks, It's started by Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda, and it's just like Second Wind Entertainment or whatever,
Mm-hmm. He'll be the next Kojima. That's what it'll be. He'll be the next Kojima. He'll be best friends with Jeff Keighley. He's going to break off and start his own studio.
Yeah.
I mark my words, Gene. It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah. But yeah, Miyamoto. Nobody from Nintendo ever did that. There's no Mikami. There's no former Blizzard Entertainment person that does this, and now they have a new company where they're sexually harassing their female employees in a new company. No, that doesn't happen in Nintendo. They're just like, no, we're Nintendo. We make Nintendo games now.
Yeah, very loyal. I mean, just from a Japanese perspective, not that everyone stays at every job constantly there, but Nintendo's supposed to be a good place to work, and people are loyal, and people rise up at Nintendo. Koizumi started by making the the pamphlet on the inside of a Super Nintendo. I think it's Super Nintendo game, but now he's like, director status.
The Mario guy, yeah. The other Mario guy, yeah. For sure.
Last part from this shareholder Q and A, and this is on leaks. There has been a lot of news about this over the past 2 weeks. So I'm going to read you guys part of an article from Video Game Chronicle, and here's what they said. During the company's annual shareholder meeting on Thursday, transcribed by ex-user nstyles, Nintendo directors were asked specifically about a recent report that several recently leaked Nintendo announcements allegedly originated from a Google employee who accessed private videos in the Switch maker's YouTube account. Responding, the directors said that they were aware of the media reports and claimed that Nintendo has been working with external companies to diagnose leaks. The company has introduced new measures to its security systems, it said, and they're also working to educate employees about IT security. Nintendo leaks have become a prominent topic in recent weeks. After the report about potential Google leaks, a prominent Nintendo leaker locked their social media account after they revealed the source of their information was an employee of Nintendo of Japan. So that was a big thing with this Nintendo Direct. It did not leak in advance. And do you know the name of the Twitter user that locked down? Was it Puro? Okay, yeah, I wanted to make sure it's the right one. But a lot of this comes down to either if it being someone from Nintendo of Japan, but also there's been talk of like YouTube employees that have access to the back end that are able to then tell someone and leak stuff. But it seems that Nintendo's new security measures has, worked out for them because it did not leak. And for a company as secretive as Nintendo, they fully understand the value of a good reveal, a good surprise. Because just look at how people feel about that last Direct, because people had no idea that we were getting a Zelda game where you played as Zelda. That is huge news. And no one knew until it happened. So yeah. Oh, God, Gene, did you?
No, you bring up a great point. Leak culture kind of ruins the hype culture, I don't know. Is that what we want? That we're just like, oh, yeah, we totally expect, I think we're talking about how Xbox could have had a surprise if people weren't being like, hey, Doom could be there, and then later we're like, oh, it's called Doom: The Dark Ages, and then they just show the trailer. So it's like, oh, right, here we go, checklist. Yeah, there's just no more. So is that what we want? Is this the culture we want right now? Leakers celebrating leakers and voraciously going after them, and celebrating them. I don't know. I'm not anti-leaker. I'm not saying that. But we've definitely found a lot of ways to make video games less exciting, and I'm not sure we're thinking about where we're going as a culture.
Yeah, it's been a downfall of leakers the past few weeks with the guy that was cosplaying as a Japanese native, Midori and stuff like that, like all that. Wasn't there also the guy that was like pretending to be not a leaker, but he was pretending to be like a Japanese professor or something, talking about Assassin's Creed?
Kenji Yamamoto. Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about this? I mean, leaks. I'm kind of two minds in that I think I'm good with leaks that are far off, right? Like, hey, I'm hearing this company is working on this type of game or working on a title and a sequel to this. I think when it gets close to where it's like the assets are ready and there's a direct planned, then it's like there's no point in leaking. That's just ruining things. It's two different things.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead, but that's exactly what it is. It's a spoiler culture, It's just like all you did. It's just a fucking Google employee looking at when Nintendo is uploading and be like, oh, Nintendo is doing this. That takes no effort. That doesn't take any skill. That doesn't take any investigation and that you just fucking work there and you're telling people what you see at work. And so yeah, that's not a real leak. You're just spoiling the commercial right before it happens,
Yeah, anyways, sorry, I'm with you. Oh, no problem. I'm with you because I personally, sometimes leaks are exciting. For me, it's mostly exciting when they're vague. When all you hear is, hey, might be a new Fire Emblem at the next Direct. That's my type of leak of you're just telling me maybe a new Fire Emblem. I'm going to be pretty hyped about seeing that to see if it comes true. Okay. But when you get really specific, when you tell me that there's a remake of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker's coming to Switch and then it doesn't happen, it's like, all right, well, now I got my hopes up for nothing. Or if it does happen, the big moment is ruined. It's just like, I dislike personally when leaks are really specific. I'd much rather have them be vague, keep it vague. Say like might get a port of a Zelda game on Switch. All right, then leave it to my imagination. Okay. Or like, oh, might be a new Yoshi game. All right. But when we get really specific, it does just kind of ruin the fun of it for me a little bit. Partly because these shows already don't feel the same as they used to. I remember like E3 every year felt like Christmas. It really used to be like, holy shit, did you see Scalebound? Like, did you see that announcement trailer? I haven't felt that way about most of these shows in so long. It's different because I'm not talking about like E3 here. Like we're talking about like the company specific directs and things like that, but they just don't feel quite the same. partly because the surprises are often ruined. So this direct was better for me because it was genuinely surprising. I didn't know about Brothership. I didn't know about the new Zelda game, and it did add to it. So I do try to avoid leaks when I can. It's a little tricky with the nature of our jobs because we often either people tweet things at us directly. So it's like, if I didn't see it, a listener tweeted it at me anyways. And that's totally fine. I'm not faulting them for that. But yeah, this direct did feel better because it wasn't spoiled. And I do hope that we can kind of continue with that, and not have things constantly ruined for us before they actually happen, because I want to be right there with the listeners with like, wow, did you see that? And being like super excited for things that were totally unexpected.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's unavoidable to see them. And I like certain kinds of leaks, but not all of them, just ruining the fun a day or two before direct. That sucks. So
Yeah.
Glad to see Nintendo take care of that. And yeah. Next one. Final part. That's the last part of the shareholder Q and A meeting. Cool. So as I mentioned, this is just stuff that people have translated. The official Q and A isn't out yet. So if there's more stuff on it, we will talk about it in a future episode when we actually have that official translation. Okay. Nintendo has 2 new lawsuits. Nintendo, of course, as always, getting litigious. This one's kind of interesting, though, because it has to do with a new hacking device thing that maybe you guys have seen before. So let's go ahead and get into it. Nintendo has filed a lawsuit against a team called Modded Hardware. This is a website specializing in selling modded Nintendo Switches and 3DSs, other Nintendo stuff. So these modded consoles allow for playing pirated games and backup games, whatever. And they also sell a device called the MIG Switch. This is a game cart for Switch that has a little SD card slot in it. So this allows an unmodded Switch to just play games that someone's put on the SD card. Of course, that could be legally with your own backups, but unlikely. I would say it's probably someone who is pirating games. Maybe not. I don't know. So Nintendo's suing Modded Hardware for copyright infringement and violating the DMCA. Here's some stuff from the actual filing that Nintendo's lawyers has said. It says, defendant not only offers the hardware and firmware to create and play pirated games, but he also provides his customers with copies of pirated Nintendo games. Typically, when a customer purchases a hacked console or the circumvention services, defendant pre-installs on the console a portfolio of ready-to-play pirated games, including some of Nintendo's most popular titles, such as Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda, and Metroid games. So that's lawsuit 1. Lawsuit 2, very similar. In addition, Nintendo has filed against someone named James Williams, who online goes by Archbox. Nintendo claims this person is connected to what they said is called pirate shops, where games are distributed. And here's some more stuff from filings. Quote, defendant has been leading, if not the primary, moderator of Switch Pirates Reddit community, which has grown to nearly 190,000 members. Damn. Since 2019, defendant has posted thousands of comments and messages to the Switch Pirates Reddit group. Defendant's posts have included, by way of example, messages directing users to the pirate shops and offering technical advice and encouragement to others about how to use the pirate shops, how to download and install circumvention software, how to play pirated copies of Nintendo Switch games. And the defendant is well aware of his conduct is unlawful and infringes Nintendo's intellectual property rights. Indeed, defendant has bragged publicly that he is a pirate who, quote, isn't going to give Nintendo $50 for a game. So I was thinking about this, and some of it, I mean, it's news, of course, but it's not really news because Nintendo is always suing people. But it's always funny when it's tough for people that care about backing up games and the ability to mod their systems. I'm in support of that. I think people should be able to do what they want with the stuff that they own. But just like the Switch emulator, there's always like, you did something here. You sold the Switch with a bunch of games. You can't do that. You can't do that. So we don't have to get into this too in depth. if you don't have anything to say, of course. But Micah, Nintendo going after the pirates. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm totally with you, Dustin, that what feels like their slam dunk here is the games itself. When it comes to this modded hardware company, Nintendo likely wouldn't have pursued this because it's sort of a gray area, except for the fact that you're selling a console with games pre-installed on it that are stolen. And like that's the slam dunk of like, look, man, you're selling the pirated games. It's one thing to say, okay, we're selling a Switch that has, this special thing done to it, and we didn't give you any illegal games. All we did was modify the console. More of a gray area over there. But when you're installing games on it and sending it to your customer, that's a huge problem. This guy on Reddit, to me, that's a little more of a gray area. He's clearly pirating games himself, but it's like, posting messages on a board, giving people instructions to do so. I don't know how that's going to turn out. But you're right that when it came to that emulator case that we discussed previously, the biggest issue, it seemed, was the fact that on their Patreon, they were linking people to where to get these games, helping them download the games, versus what they claimed of like, oh, we're only offering the emulation software. We're not offering the games. But you go on their Patreon and clearly they're helping people get the games. So it feels like Nintendo, when it comes to like if their games are involved specifically, they're going to go after it. And that really seems to be the line that I don't know why people cross. I have no idea why this modded hardware company would install the games on it for you. That seems stupid. Like that feels like such a crazy decision when you're selling these things to be like, oh, and by the way, we put the games on it for you. It's like, no, no, no. That just seems like such a bad move. And that's one that I'm with Nintendo on that of like, that's too far. That's very different from just selling a jailbroken console. Like now you've actually put the stolen software on it. It feels like Nintendo's got that one for sure.
Right. It's like the difference between selling someone a gun and selling someone or offering hitman services, right? Like the gun can be used for good, but it's up to you. Whereas, just straight up selling and with the pirated stuff on it, it's like, okay, we get what's going on here. But Gina, I wanted to ask you what you thought. I gotta admit, not recently, but I once pirate of Nintendo software years ago in the Nintendo DS era. I had an R4 card, and dude, I was downloading Nintendo DS games left and right, and I feel bad about it, because that's primarily how I played the Nintendo DS when I was in junior high. To be fair, I do kind of see a little bit for certain pirates, very specifically, where they're like, well, those games weren't going to be sales anyway. And that was true in my case because I had no fucking money, other than I had enough money to get this DS and this R4 card. And that doesn't make it right. I'm in no way trying to justify it. For games that are currently available on the shelves, and we've talked about this before, it's like, no, you have a not only a legal obligation, but a moral obligation, I would say, to purchase these games and give people what they're due.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, if you're pirating games that are just coming out, like, for example, obviously Tears of the Kingdom was a huge thing that sunk Yuzu, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that you're just trying to make people not buy the games, as opposed to preservation. So that's why like, these lawsuits are a bummer because, I am preservation minded, and Nintendo is not. None of the companies are very good at preservation minded, being preservation minded. Phil Spencer keeps talking about being a preservationist, and that's great. And Xbox backwards compatibility is quite good. And then they're going to delist for Forza Horizon 4,
Yep.
So what are we doing here other than encouraging piracy? Because people do want to preserve these games. And it is because of piracy that some of these games are preserved. So it's tough. But I get why Nintendo's doing it. And Nintendo clearly seems to be very smart about making sure that they get cases that they win, Again, I said before that they have the best lawyers in the world. So I don't think they're going to be chasing frivolous cases. So if they and clearly whenever one of these firms just step outside of the boundaries, like they're right there to tap you, you know.
Yeah. All right. There's only one quick quickie here that just as a PSA to anybody that Nintendo's now offering a 7-day trial for NSO, even if you've already used a trial. So get out there, try out the online services if you like, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I actually got an email from Nintendo this week that was like, if you sign up for a 12-month subscription in Nintendo Online, you'll get, I think it was like 500 gold coins or something.
Oh, nice.
And I just thought that was interesting because I was previously a subscriber. And so they're like, hey, sign up again and we'll give you 500 gold coins. It's like, that's a pretty sweet deal to be offering somebody, because the gold coins are the ones that give you direct dollar discounts in the eShop. It's not a lot of money, but the gold coins are the good ones. The platinum coins are the ones that suck. So I'm like, hey, that's actually not a bad deal for something I was considering doing anyways. And I have until the end of the month to sign up for it if I want to, and I'll get those gold coins. So I had just gotten that email and thought, interesting, because Nintendo doesn't often give incentives like that. You know, it's just one of those things like they don't have to. So they'll give you the free trial, certainly. But I was pretty surprised to see them offering, you know, hey, get some coins, you know, for off your next purchase if you sign up for this. It just didn't seem very Nintendo.
Yeah. I think 500 gold coins, is that $5 off?
I don't know the conversion, honestly, because I always sign up, like when you put in a new game cartridge and you can collect the gold coins, and you get like, what, 60, I think, when you pop in a new game.
Yeah.
So I that probably is usually like 60 cents ish when you actually go into the eShop and it's like, hey, I have $1 to spend. You know, they add up very slowly, but it's something, you know, it's something that you get for buying all these games.
Yeah. 1 gold coin is 1 penny, which sounds low. So wait, that would be $5 then, right? It's just 500 coins. Yeah. Okay. So $5. Not bad. A free $5.
That'll buy you a little game. Some the Vampire Survivor expansions, for example. Like, that'll buy you something. That'll get you something in that eShop.
All right, guys, let's talk about what we've been playing. Michael, let's go ahead and start with you since you're on a little bit of a timeout from a game.
Yes. So I put this in the notes. I have Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is in timeout right now. I love the story still. I'm just getting very frustrated with the level of grinding that is required. These later chapters, the levels for the bosses just ramp up immediately. And it's like you start a new area. I'm going through and defeating like tons of enemies. I'm going through areas 2 or 3 times. I'm still not the right level for the boss that's at the end of the chapter, right? And it's like I spent 3 hours grinding to go up 1 level. I just am feeling burnt out at this point. So I did switch the game to easy. It's still pretty difficult though. Like even doing that, I still wasn't a high enough level to beat this boss. So I had to go grind more. With Xenoblade games, it definitely feels like easy is more like normal, and normal is more like a step below like hard mode, basically. Like normal is definitely not normal. Normal feels challenging for sure. And I'm just starting to get burnt out with it. I'm determined to finish it. Like, I'm absolutely determined that I'm going to finish this game. But right now it's in timeout because I'm just getting really sick of it. And I don't want to be sick of it. I want to see the ending of the game and not feel like, thank fuck that's over. Like, I want to see the ending and be like, oh, that was a fun experience. Looking forward to the third one because I am determined to get there. So while Xenoblade 2 is in timeout, I've been playing Dragon's Crown Pro on PS5. And I talked about that a lot on Summon Sign, but I'll give like an overview of the game still for anyone who hasn't played it before. It's a fantasy themed beat 'em up. It's excellent. I am having so much fun with it. Just a complete change of pace from this like really lengthy JRPGs that I've been playing. I'm playing as the fighter for my first playthrough, which is what was recommended on the kind of mini getting started guide that I consulted. And if you're totally new to this game, I do recommend looking up like a spoiler free, just like a tips and tricks guide. Like, you don't need a full walkthrough, but yeah, it just told me some helpful things like making sure to repair your weapons before you head out, little things you might miss or misunderstand, sort of like there's an appraisal system in the game when you get new loot at the end of each adventure, you need to have it appraised if you actually want to keep it and use it. And this guide just sort of helped you figure out when it's worth doing that so that you don't waste a ton of money. So if you're completely new to this game, I would recommend consulting one of those spoiler-free like tips and tricks guides. But I'm loving it. I bought this game, at launch years ago when they came out with it for PS4, and I have the Steelbook edition. It's one of my favorite Steelbooks, and I just didn't really get around to it. And playing it now, it's just like I'm upset that I waited so long to play it because I'm having so much fun with it. It's not usually my type of game. I enjoy beat 'em ups, but they aren't usually on theme with what I like. Like, I really enjoyed playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat 'em up with Colin, but I don't like TMNT. So it's like, it's a fun game, but the theme wasn't really for me. This one being like fantasy themed, and we have, sorceresses and wizards and dragons and shit. And it's like, this is my shit, man. So like, it's been fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's a relatively short game. It's meant to be replayed because there's multiple characters for you to choose from. But it's one that I totally recommend to everyone out there. This is a game that belongs on Switch, though. Vanillaware brought Unicorn Overlord to Switch. This is a game that would be fantastic on Switch. I don't know maybe if they'll ever do that, but it was originally on Vita, and I definitely think they could bring it over to Switch as well. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it, and it's very addicting. It's a really addicting game that I found myself looking at the clock like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been playing this late into the night.
Yeah, you should check out Summon Sign, of course, where you talked about it extensively. And Mike, I don't know if you've seen the thumbnail yet this week.
No, I
for your
didn't.
live reaction. If you bring it up on Patreon, it is a
I'm going.
Dragon's Crown thumbnail.
I'm scared.
It
I'm
has
scared
you
of what
in
it's
it
gonna be.
and Colin, and I made sure.
Oh my God.
Do you see Brad? Dude, Brad's got a rack, dude. He's like,
Brad's looking.
he's got the mommy
stacked.
milkers. So yeah, not bad. Maybe not my finest work, but definitely a solid entry.
No, this is fine work. I think my recent favorite being the one with the Order 1886 that you did.
Oh yeah.
But it's because that is my dream cosplay would be for me to dress up as one of the knights from the Order, but I'm not a cosplayer and I'm very lazy, so it's never going to happen, and I don't have any monies to spend on somebody making me a custom Sir Galahad suit. So just seeing my head on top of one of their bodies, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's exactly what it would look like, and I felt fulfilled in some way.
Good. I'm glad to hear I can dream fulfillment with the Order. I mean, the Order is a game that is a dream game, honestly.
Oh my God. Yeah, everything about it. We're not getting on that tangent, but everything about the Order, I just adore. And the costumes especially are just so cool in that world. But like, if you want to talk about how lazy I am as a cosplayer, I was going to cosplay as Nadine Ross one year for PAX and just doing her outfit that's just like a blue t-shirt and like khakis. And I couldn't find khakis that I liked. And I was just like, oh, whatever. And it's like, that's the whole look. It's just like hiking boots, hiking pants, a blue t-shirt, a ponytail. And I was like, it's too much work. It's like, that's my level of cosplay. I just won't do it. So this is the only way it's going to happen.
It's always fun at Too Many Games. There's a lot of cosplay because they do a cosplay contest, stuff like that. And I think cosplay is awesome. I think it's cool. And I think anyone at any level should go out and do it. With that said, it is sometimes funny to see bad cosplay. And it's cool to see really good cosplay. You're like, holy shit, that's amazing. I wonder how long that took them. But there's some people it's like, maybe not so good. But it's still fun. I support them doing whatever. Gene, bringing something new to the table here. I'm very curious about with Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yeah, not much to say other than, yes, I did buy SMT Vengeance on the Switch again.
Nice.
I don't care about 60 FPS. I honestly don't. Especially for SMT. It's just a turn-based game, right? And I don't think the graphics are anything to write home about, so I'm not really looking for this performance. And for me, SMT is, if you guys don't know, I like to buy games on consoles where it makes sense in my brain. if that makes sense. So, for example, Souls games, I feel weird playing them on Xbox because Demon Souls is a PS3 exclusive. So I feel like every Souls FromSoft game I need to play on PlayStation. Metal Gear, I don't care how many times Xbox is going to be showing up Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'm going to be playing that on PlayStation because it feels weird. So for SMT, yeah, on PlayStation that would make sense, but I feel like it makes the most sense on a Nintendo console. So I bought SMT5 Vengeance again, even though I own SMT5 regular on a Switch anyways. I have both games on physical because I'm a collector, and I never played SMT before. Sadly, I didn't really get that far into this version. It is cool. The story is interesting. I really like the God aspect of it, about how it reinterprets God as, hey, there were a bunch of other gods, but God shut them up, and he was like, no, I'm the only one. I think that's pretty cool. Mix up and send up of Christianity. A lot of Christianity games these days, actually. If you didn't notice, Stellar Blade, right?
Right.
The Adam and Eve imagery, and then we have SMT with God and the original sin, and the other game that we're going to talk about, of course, is Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. Lots of talk about original sin and snakes there. So a lot of creation myth Bible stories lately, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to SMT5. Once I'm done with Shadow of the Erdtree, and I'm still playing Shadow of the Erdtree. We can talk more about that. It's just I'm just still in that mode, But I did punch through to SMT5. I started the character. Really interested in it. Started playing Japanese because this is a Japanese game, but it's like I got tired of reading, so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna hear it in English. It's fine.
Yeah,
I need to stop being spoiled about it and just give my eyes a break. But yeah, I've heard that the SMT5 games are hard. I heard that they are challenging turn-based games, and that's cool. I'm actually looking forward to. Again, I think some of my favorite fights in Dragon Quest XI were not the grindy ones, but the really, really hard challenge bosses. Those are really, really interesting. So if SMT5 is mostly just game of that, then I'll be really interested. So Dustin, I don't know. Did you play it? Did you finish it?
I haven't played it at all. I was waiting for I do want it to be 60 FPS, even if it doesn't matter for gameplay. That was one that I was I almost bought it. But the other thing is just that I don't know if I'll like it. Even though I am a Persona fan, because it's so much more focused on combat and gameplay and less about story and a lot of grinding and stuff, I was like, I just have a feeling I'm not going to like it, but I still would like to try it at some point.
But yeah, I struggled to get into it. I played it for maybe 2 hours because I bought it immediately when it came out. Because I was like, oh, I really want to try this. And I played for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and it just didn't jive with me. I'm gonna though try it again in the future now that I kind of know what to expect. The biggest thing for me was just the lack of variety of enemies, like especially early on, of like it will have you fight the slime monster 50 times. Like, and it's just like it's not like Persona where it's like, at least throw me a few variations here, please. It's like, no, there's only slime monsters here. And I'm just so sick of fighting him, And there's a lot more combat. I remember just feeling like I was getting sick of the battle music because it's just like, there's not as many story breaks in between. It's different from Persona. I knew that going into it, but I wasn't exactly sure what the gameplay would be. Now that I know what it is, I feel like I'm going to go back at some point and play it because the story was interesting. The story was cool, but I definitely wasn't expecting what it was going to be like. And I wanted to go in fresh. I don't really want to look into it too much ahead of time, but
yeah,
I'm with you, Dustin, that it's different enough from Persona that I'm like, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, it's a hardcore dungeon crawler. Like that's how it's, and that's what, like, no wonder why Persona got more popular, because it adds a lot of that story and narrative stuff. But I want to. SMT is a blind spot for me. It's one of the most formative RPG series of all time, along with Dragon Quest, right, and Final Fantasy. So it's like, yeah, I should play it. You know.
As for me, I'm still playing Shadow of the Erd Tree. I'll talk about it a little bit, but I'm not going to say any spoilers. I'm just going to talk in general about my experience towards the end. If you're super, super sensitive, go to the next timestamp. But I really believe that there won't be no boss names, no boss mechanics. I just want to talk to Gene a little bit about what I'm feeling. I am on the final boss. Which I've seen many people say is the hardest boss that From Software has ever made.
I agree.
I'm not sure about that yet, but
how many days has it been for you? It's been a while.
Well, I got to him on Friday.
Okay.
Or Thursday or Friday, but I was leaving, so I was gone all weekend. And then so yesterday I was going around and leveling up my Shadow Tree fragments, or Dew Tree fragments, as some, and
Skibidi
fragments, Scooby Doo fragments. And so then I was just fighting him last night, and I was like, not a super long time, maybe like half hour, 40 minutes. It was kind of getting late at that point. I was like, it's not happening tonight. I want to watch One Piece. So I am a little frustrated in that, and this is the only real thing I'll say about the boss, is just that I feel like this boss demands, if you're not insanely good, it demands respects. Like,
yeah,
I am worried that my build, while it certainly is possible, I'm not saying it's not possible.
What's your build?
Intellect with the Dark Moon Greatsword.
Oh, yeah. And
the problem is it's so dependent on full R2 swings. That's how I get most of my damage. And to be clear, he's like a really hard boss to learn and dodge, this final boss. But
yes,
I just am like, I think I'm going to have to respec. I don't know if I'm good enough to beat him with this specific build based on his moveset. And I find that a little frustrating. I'm not one of those people that's like, it's too hard. I just wish that it was designed. I don't know. I don't know what I want, honestly. My pride is saying, no, you have beat everything with this build.
Yeah.
So you should be able to beat this with this build. But this fight is so aggressive. I think I'm going to have to, maybe. So
you haven't fought him that long, though, actually. So you fought him on Thursday, Friday, and then like what, about 40 minutes afterwards yesterday? I would give it a few more tries, I think, with your build, especially if you're feeling that sense of pride in terms of the history that you've had with that sword and the amount of intelligence that you're holding in your little brain. Then yeah, I think you should just stick with that. This is a tough boss to learn. But it is possible to learn the moves, and actually eventually dodge them. The problem is that like it's going to be like maybe 10 or 12 moves before you actually get in one hit. You know? So you're going to be rolling and dodging. Here's the thing, though. I was watching Let Me Solo Her, right? Let Me Solo Her is again the Elden Ring player that famously camped outside Melania's boss room, the previous hardest boss in the game, and would solo the boss. Just be like, "Don't worry, I got this," you know. But he made it to the last boss and had a really, really hard time. And you know, if you don't let me solo his build, he would be wielding a katana. I forget which kind of katana, but he'd be completely naked, not wearing any armor. When he was fighting the last boss of Shadow the Erd Tree, he was all armored up and he had a big old shield.
Yep.
So he even let me solo her, the god amongst men, had to turtle up and change his ways, you know. So I think that's exactly what I did too, because I was using the fingerprint armor for most of the game. And for folks who don't know, the fingerprint armor is the armor that's on the cover of the game. I like to play the game with the guy on the cover. You know, that's what my monkey brain likes to do. I bought the game when I'm the guy in the cover. You know, that's me. I could not do it with this boss. I really, really tried. I wanted to have a heroic shot. No, I put on the fattest armor I have. The biggest, roundest armor I have, the heaviest armor I have. I put on the heavy armor ring. I put up the fingerprint shield that everyone else is using. The fingerprint shield is probably the hardest shield in the game. It has the highest defense stats against every kind of element out there, and it has very high poise. I put that on. I blessed it with magic. I had a mimic tier, right? Who is also wearing, again, Mimic Tier would be wearing the same shit you are. So I built my guy so Mimic Tier would also be the fattest, heaviest guy out there. And I beat the boss after healing Mimic Tier, and then Mimic Tier still died again, and I had to solo the boss myself. So Mimic Tier, so the boss killed Mimic Tier basically twice, and then I had to tough it out. But it was tough. It took me 4 days.
When you say healing Mimic Tier, do you mean you're giving him the one item that fully heals you?
That works.
Yeah.
There is one new potion item. It sort of works,
but not always.
But it always depends, right, on the RNG of the mimic that actually taking that drink, right?
Twice my mimic has walked into the fight and I'm getting fucked up by the boss. I'm like, Mimic, what are you doing? Dude, he's just sipping that. Like, he's just like, hey, what's going on? It's like Sunny D. He doesn't even have a... Dude, has not even attacked him. And he'll go...
you said the last boss name.
Oh, shit, fuck. Okay, hold on. I'll beep. Okay, it's beeped out.
It'll be funny to be like, I'll have to beep that.
Yeah, I'll beep it.
Just leave all this in. It's fine. Just beep it.
Cover it up with... His name is Captain Ploppers.
Captain Ploppers hasn't even... looked at him, and he's drinking to heal himself. I'm like, fuck you, bro. What are you doing? Funny. I took so much damage just to summon you into this fight because you're immediately attacked. And he's just drinking, whatever it is, the cocktail.
Yeah. So, no, what I mean by heal is I use the spell heal from far away. And the interesting thing, I didn't notice, but if you actually just like lock onto the boss and just heal from far away, the heal from far away will blast the boss, but then the AoE from the blast will heal your mimic as long as your mimic is like nicely engaged with the boss that is in the area right there. I didn't really know that, so I just waited. Hold on, I just got a text. I just waited to basically the boss would do a command grab on the mimic, right? And then when the boss set that mimic down, I just waited behind him and I just blasted him with the heal, and it just went right back to full health. So
yeah, it's frustrating. Hopefully today's the day that I'll be able to do it, and we will have an Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree spoiler cast in the near future. So I have to beat it for work, no matter what. It's my job to beat Shadow of the Erdtree, and I will.
Yeah, you gotta see the ending. There's an actual ending.
That's right. I'm excited to see it. Gene, I gotta tell you too, real quick. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I was playing Steam Deck when I was in Philly at our hotel, and I was like, "How far can I get in Sekiro in one sitting?" And I beat Genichiro in one sitting without getting the butterfly memory, the lady butterfly memory, and I was like, "Still got it." So hopefully, I can bring that energy to Elden Ring.
Yeah. But this is, I mean, what are you having trouble with? Is it the moves, right?
Oh, I'm just fucking dying.
Yeah.
And I've
in like seconds, right?
No, well, I've gotten him down to about a third left. So
have you hit the second phase at all?
Have I beaten the second phase?
Have you gotten to the second phase?
Oh yeah. I've had him down to the last third.
Oh, the last third. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So it's gonna happen. I just need to. Dude, I need to get good.
The last third. Yeah, you're almost there. You're almost there. And you said you were Shadow level 14.
I'm level 19 now.
Oh crap!
So
yeah,
I'm telling you, this build is not suited.
Oh yeah,
but I'm gonna make it happen. I think
you might have to retinker a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I did. I had to get a whole new armor set. And I beat the game looking ugly, not the way I wanted it, but but then again, I did beat him again a couple nights ago, and I got him in a couple tries. So you'll get there. I bet this boss will age nicely, and within a year, people will be having no problem with him. So We'll see.
All right, guys, let's get into some ending questions here for the show. I have a bunch here. I don't have time for all of them. So I'm just going to surprise you guys with one of these questions, whether you're prepared or not. I like this one in particular because I already have an example lined up. This is from Yosh Wah, who says, "Hey, Punching Up crew, what are some things in video games that you really appreciate / find satisfying for no discernible reason? For example, I, for whatever reason, love it when a game has highly detailed rocks. I am also unreasonably satisfied when there is an item / quest hidden behind a waterfall. Do you have anything to add to this list of things that only gamers can appreciate / fully understand?" I'll start off real quick here. Mine is actually something, Gene, you either tweeted about or retweeted about. This isn't something super uncommon, but it doesn't always happen. And that is, in an RPG, when you level up, you get healed. It's like a nice little reset.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. That's in Paper Mario, that when you level up, clean slate. So satisfying. It's like, it almost becomes a mechanic that's like, okay, well, I'm really close to leveling up. If I can level up, then I don't have to heal, and I'm set. It's satisfying when it happens. And I feel like it should be standard, as I think your tweet or your retweet said, Gene.
Yeah, I think retweet. Yeah, but yeah, I completely agree. Totally.
Yeah, super satisfying thing in games. That's the first thing that came to mind. Micah, what about you? What's something that tickles your fancy in a game? That's
I gotta say, when water in video games looks really good.
Mm.
We're at the point now with graphics where, generally speaking, water usually does look pretty good, but it's just seeing the progression of gaming over the years, and just like really pretty water was something I would always look at, like, wow, look at that. And you appreciate it. I mean, me personally, appreciate it a little bit less over time, because as the standards of graphics change, and it's just like, it just looks better and better. But I still do have moments where I'm like, wow, look at the water. Like, the water just always is something I'm looking at in realistic games. Of course, I'm talking about games that are trying to go for realism, not like Wind Waker, where it's like, yeah, the water's cool, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's something I always do look at, and I'm just like, wow, look at these graphics. Like, that's what stands out to me.
What's a memorable water for you? Because I love water too.
Well, something like Heavy Rain, for example, with the way like the water would move and stuff like that. I mean, a game that had like a lot of water, like in the outdoor portions, for example. Something like, I'm trying to think, maybe like the newer like Lara Croft games, or some like the waterfalls and things like that. Like, I just remember feeling like, oh man, look at this. And I can't remember the guy's name. There's this dude, he's bald, and I think he's British, and he does these videos on YouTube about like, they're about video games. I can't remember, is it Rob Pearson or something? But he always talks about the water too. He always notices water in video games, and it's just like, yes, talk about the water. Show me the puddles. Show me the ones that have the reflections in them. Like things like that. It's like, yes, show me the water.
Grand Theft Auto 5, amazing water.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I would say, Micah, too, I think this rings true because it's the opposite when you see bad water. Yeah. I remember famously The Quarry, which is a good-looking game, but the water is so incredibly bad when it splashes. It looks like like PNG, like see-through splashes come up. It's horrendous. And it infuriated me. It was the exact opposite of satisfying. So I think you're onto something with this. Gene, what about you?
Had a beautiful background, water, but I think Grand Theft Auto 5 takes the cake because I feel like you can swim around it. You can drive a submarine in the water. It's amazing.
Yeah, and even simpler games like Pikmin 3 had some stages with water in them. And it's just like crystal clear, and you're floating around in it, and it just looks good. It's just, it's like, even that game just has like, the water looks good. You're swimming around. It's just like, this is just so satisfying. It's like, even things like that is like, yes, the water, look at it.
You guys weren't there, but the first water level in Super Mario 64 just blew my mind. It was like an unforgettable moment. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, man, I can't believe I'm swimming in 3D space up and down, and the music is gorgeous, and you're just like in this cave. It's just amazing. I couldn't believe it. To answer the question though, and to follow the spirit of Micah's thought, gun reloading animations.
Yeah.
I love them. I'm obsessed with them. I get off to them. Every gun reloading animation that's really really good. If you screw that up, then I just don't like your gun game as much as the one that has much better reloading animations. The one that just feels satisfying. Thunk, snap, crack. For me, the one that was always popping in mind is the sniper rifle, the hunting rifle in Resident Evil 4. When Leon goes and goes, and, it goes Garand, like the M1 Garand rifle. I love the M1 Garand rifle in World War II too.
Yes.
But any rifle. I always use the hunting rifles in Red Dead Redemption games. Always pull it back. With first-person shooter games, Halo actually doesn't have amazing reload animations. They're cool and they're snappy. I feel like they're mostly there to just kind of pace the game out. But even Call of Duty too. I feel like both of those games are mostly designed around the shooting. But I always appreciate a game that always just gives you a hefty reloading animation. I'm forgetting so many games right now off the top of my head.
You're right about Halo being all right with reloads, but I got to shout out the Needler reload, how it's like, ching, and the spikes stick out.
Yeah.
That one's good.
That's why like Halo doesn't feel good, but their reload animations are so creative and they serve a great purpose, right? So it's like, I do think Halo is notable for that, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about like really, really crunchy animations that just feel good to do every single time.
I know what you mean, Gene. Because whenever I play Call of Duty, my favorite guns are these like single shot rifles, and I also always play iron sights when I play Call of Duty, and the ones that have like a really great sound effect, just and especially when it's a single shot rifle, it's just like I love the sound of it. Like those are my favorite guns to play with, and especially like when I'm sniping and like the reload sound, it's like oh my god, it's just so good.
Let's see. Who should we go with next? Gene, this is a question I mainly wanted to see what you thought about, but we can, of course, get Mike in here, too, from Nick B. Leave It. And this is kind of news this week, but pretty small, is that he said here, important detail about the Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. It's being handled by Forever Entertainment, who have been responsible for multiple remakes of recent, such as Panzer Dragoon, House of the Dead, and Front Mission. And, well, you've seen how well those have turned out. If Retro themselves were handling this remaster, then the 3DS levels plus nailing a better control scheme would make a $60 price tag a lot more defendable. As it is, possible yikes. So yeah, Forever Entertainment, they've confirmed the developer of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. I'm not aware of these ports, so first one to ask you about that, Gene, if you've played any of these ports and if they weren't good or if you heard anything. But I think it was kind of surprising that people were surprised by the $60 price tag. This is Nintendo we're talking about. They always, I don't want to say always, but all of these remastered and remakes have all been $60 so far. Mm-hmm. And while Forever Entertainment, maybe these other remakes haven't been...
These remakes are fine, Nick. I mean, they didn't launch amazing, but Panzer Dragoon is an amazing port now. They did patch it up, and House of the Dead wasn't bad. There was nothing. It didn't perform that well, but that's because they were crunching it with a bunch of like effects and everything. But they're working with Nintendo, and Nintendo will assure like a smooth performance. So like, I don't know if this company is as bad as you might say it is. They're not best, but these ports aren't good or aren't bad.
That's what I was thinking too. Is that it's like Nintendo. I'm not saying Nintendo has a spotless record when it comes to performance overall.
Hyrule
But
Warriors, Age of Calamity, yeah.
yeah, but I would say in general, they're pretty good about making sure their shit is at a certain quality level overall. So if you're really worried about it, Nick, just wait until reviews come out that day or whenever they come out. They'll tell you if it's bad. If it's bad, don't buy it. And then if it is,
Yeah.
but I understand not wanting to have to like worry about that. I get it. You know, I felt that way when the Nier Replicant remake or remaster came out because the developer was Toy Logic, which didn't really have much of a track record at all. It ended up being great. No problems at all with Nier Replicant. So maybe that'll be the case here. But yeah, $60. I get it. You're upset because it's a Wii game, but this is Nintendo. And as we have said many times on this show, they got you by the balls. You want Donkey Kong Returns in HD, you have to pony up. $60.
I've said this before also. No other artistic medium has this many complainers about price. When an old book, when Catcher in the Rye is re-released in 2024, it's not going to be suddenly $1. You know, they're gonna sell it again for $20, right, or $10. When there's an 8K version of The Godfather, they're not going to sell it all of a sudden for $5 or $10. This is Godfather. It came out in the 70s. You know, came out like over half a century ago, right? But when Godfather comes out in 8K, they're not gonna be like, oh, well, it's 50 years old, so here's, you know, just buy for $10. No, they're gonna sell it for $30, $40. You know,
I've never thought about that. That's a great point. Thinking about
we're the only
like a 4K version of The Shining.
This many people complaining about like the normal price of what our shit costs. You know,
right? Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like if it comes out $60 and it's broken and looks like garbage or whatever, then it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then it sucks. But or same with a 4K movie. If it comes out like what was those James Cameron movies that they destroyed and made look disgusting with all this 4K smoothing and upscaling, then that sucks. But you mentioned The Godfather. Apparently the 4K restoration of that is amazing. So
like, incredible. I have that. I bought that shit for $60.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to though.
Yeah. I bought that shit for the price of a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the 4K remakes of The Godfather are incredible, and they're worth the money. And these film companies are going to be like, no, they're not going to sell you the movie for cheaper just because it's old, you know?
Right.
So these companies aren't going to sell you the games just because they're old. They're the games. That's how much they cost back then, and that's how much they're going to cost now. You know.
This is a side note, but it is amazing what can be done with a good 4K transfer. I watched the new transfer of Pulp Fiction about a year ago. Now, it's like it doesn't feel like a whole new movie, but there's aspects of it that's like it feels like this was shot recently and not compared to like a DVD or a bad transfer or something like that. It's like, damn, it's pretty crazy. So, Mike, any thoughts about this, about Donkey Kong, $60, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, I don't share Nick's concern, but it's because I'm not familiar with these specific ports that Forever Entertainment has done. So I was like, oh, I don't know if these got a very poor reception or not. You saying though that the ones that needed patches got patches, great. That's all I ever want to see. If a game releases in poor condition and it gets fixed, okay, all right, we're back. But I totally agree with like wait for reviews, see how she's doing, and go from there. In terms of the price, yeah, I mean is it lousy to pay like that much for the game when you're like, oh, it's just a port? Perhaps. But I think if you never played it, then you're going to say, well, I never bought it in the first place. And that's where a good chunk of us will be. Like, I hear people when they say, oh, they're remaking these games and you're paying full price. But it's like, I never bought Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I never bought Super Mario RPG before. These were my first time ever buying these games. I'm not the person who's buying it now for the second time, for the fourth time, whatever, because, as a kid, it's just like, I am the first time buyer. So I felt totally fair with the price that they chose. There's going to be a lot of people who this will be the first time that they're buying this game. I'm pretty sure I only ever rented this on GameFly. So it's like, I never actually bought the original. So I'm someone who would say if I was interested in this game, I'm not, because it's not my thing. But if I was interested in this game, I never bought it either. So there's a good chunk of people who this isn't the second time they're buying it. It's the first time they're buying it. And the price feels fair when you look at it like that.
Yeah, Michael brings up a fantastic point. You know, we need to stop thinking about these ports as for people who just bought these games already 30 years ago. You know, I don't think Nintendo's thinking like that. I think they're like, oh, we should sell this game to a whole generation of people who never played this before. You know,
right. Last question, guys. Is a Nintendo podcast. So we got to speculate about Switch 2 a little bit, but I did think this was a important question because usually we talk about when it's coming out. And I think Ruben Barrett presents a different question that I really like now that we are over halfway through the year. He asks, is the Switch 2 actually going to be announced this year? Or is insider info for Nintendo basically impossible to get, unlike PlayStation and Xbox? I feel like it's basically a guessing game at this point, and no one in gaming journalism who would actually have an in with Nintendo. So, yeah, as I said, we talk a lot about when Switch 2 will come out. We talked about the internal delays. We haven't talked about an announcement. And I think this is a great question. So let's go ahead and see what everyone's feeling, a gut check on when we're actually going to hear about Switch 2.
They did officially say that it's going to be before the end of the fiscal year. So,
but that could be next year for a calendar year.
So March 2025, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's confirmed. So, you know, so we just got to wait until March at the latest.
That's true. So, okay, then Gene, do you think March could be theoretically when it's coming out, right? So you'd imagine there'd be at the very least a 3-month lead up, don't you think?
Yeah, I bet that they're going to announce something in November or December, and then the March will be, or maybe they make holiday. That would make sense. But then, you know, that's, you know, again, the Switch dropped on March, so I don't know why they did that either. You know, it certainly didn't harm them. So yeah, I think they're gonna wait until after the holiday season to announce and release it, just so they can juice the Switch sales more. I think Nintendo really, really wants that top spot. I think they really, really want to be the number one best-selling game console of all time. And now that it's in reach, they're like, let's fucking go. Let's do this, you know.
Micah, are you all right? Is there I don't know what's going on. Is there like a drone outside or an alien?
I hear a buzzing, and it must be outside the window because I was just like, is there anything in here? There's not. There's literally nothing in here, but I hear a buzzing, and we have these like Japanese beetles, huge, flying around the neighborhood. I think there must just be one right outside the window. But no, that's
all
I was
the way
like,
from
what?
Japan?
I know. They're here, Gene. They're here to take my black job. No, so I think here's the thing. I am with Gene. I think that the new Switch will potentially be like actually on sale next spring because they did it with the previous Switch, March. All right. I once again though, I'm like, this is such like a fuck you to all the parents of the world whose your kid wants one for holiday. Are you either just going to tell them we'll try? You can't guarantee it. You can't say at Christmas, we're like your parents previously, Dustin. It's like, we're going to try and get you this console. It might take a while. Now you're an understanding young lad, but explaining that either to a younger child or just someone who's just like really excited for it. It's like, how do I explain to you that, yes, the Switch is now out 3 months after Christmas and dad couldn't get one, you know? So it's just like, we're just messing up everyone's holiday season again. It's probably going to be the biggest gift of Christmas 2025, I'd imagine. But I'm just like, Nintendo, what are you doing, man? Release the damn thing in November. Let all the parents buy it for their stupid kids. I mean, really, like, what are you doing? That you're going to have it come out in March. And it's just like, for what? All the kids who have a birthday, you know, coming up, they'll be fine with it. But for all the kids who are like waiting for Christmas, or it was their Christmas present and they're waiting for it because they were promised one, I don't know. Nintendo does not have the children in mind with these release dates, but I'm thinking that we are going to have a concrete announcement that it's coming, spring 2025. I feel like we're going to get that this fall, only because here's the thing. If they tell us that in fall, then maybe there will be a bunch of people who don't want to buy a Switch for their kid for Christmas, people who don't have one yet. Perchance, though, like we previously talked about on other shows, maybe they do a deep discount. So maybe they announce in November the new Switch will be coming next spring. Maybe they do some deep discounts on the Switch Lite, the original Switch, get a bunch more people to buy that for holiday, and then we'll find out more, in spring. But I don't know. It's Nintendo. We cannot chart we can't predict what they're going to do. They're just so wily.
Yeah. As far as okay, so is Switch 2 going to be announced this year? That's the core question. I would say no. I think Gene, I'm in agreement. They want that top spot. They want the clout. They want to be able to say the Switch was the best-selling console. It sounds great to investors, and they say, we're going to do it again with Switch 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. If I was them, I'd want that too. I'd be like, no, gung-ho, let's go. You know? Let's put every single log into that fire,
I could see, so we know that the successor is going to come out fiscal year, so March. I mean, it would be kind of brutal for kids that just got a Switch on December 25th, but week 1, January, say, hey, here's the teaser trailer that would like the reveal trailer, and we're doing our full reveal at the in 2 weeks or something. So then mid-January, then console was out March 01 or whatever, like right around then, and then they have the 3-month lead up. It's going to be a little quicker, I think, than Switch 1, but I think they're thirsty for that top spot, and they're willing to give it a shorter lead time. And they're like, we're the big dog. We're number one. We got the conversation. We don't even need that much lead time. So maybe not, though. I don't know. So that's my best guess currently. But again, Nintendo's crazy. We have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. And that's it for this week's Punching Up. We're done. What are you guys up to today? Micah, as we say goodbye to you, and tell me about your day.
Oh, yeah. Well, goodbye. I got to go run some errands. I got to go buy some pool chemicals. I got to go grocery shopping. Several things to do today, but it's really nice out. Yesterday was very mild. It only got up to 80 degrees. Today is similar. It's 82. It's a nice break because last week was in the high 90s. So this feels quite refreshing.
Nice. Yeah. Getting some pool chemicals. Do you ever do you open them up and just take a whiff? Will that kill you? Or is it powder?
Oh yeah, no, they're mostly powders. It certainly wafts in your face. Yeah. Oh God. That probably would kill you. If it didn't kill you, you'd probably wish that it did. That's one of those things that's gonna burn all the way down.
Oh yeah. Well, why not? Someone's got to try it. Gene, are you sniffing the pool chemicals? What are you doing today? And goodbye.
Yeah, something just came up at work that's very annoying, so I gotta go deal with that. Very hot outside. I'm gonna go grab something to eat. I don't know. We didn't talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 at all. I think that's kind of a miss for all of us.
Yeah, well, no, I was gone when it came out, and then
it just dropped out of nowhere.
I haven't played any of them.
At a busy time. Oh yeah, maybe that could be our assignment for next time. But we should try, because I do feel bad that I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
Because I did play it on the DS and I loved it. Thing is, I'm also not. I'm not sure if I'm ready for like a Luigi's Mansion experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it came on Halloween. That's a good time. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think I'll try to dive in. I should get down physical too.
Yeah.
Every Nintendo, and here's the thing about Nintendo games is that you don't have to wait until they go for sale because they're never going to go on sale. So
yeah,
I'm not saving money by not buying it now and buying it later. If I just buy it now, that's just inevitably what's going to happen, and I'm going to be spending that much price. So yeah, hopefully we'll be talking about Luigi's Mansion 2 next time.
As for me, I have to make a decision. maybe not number one, but a game that I really, really, really want for my collection because I had it when I was a kid and I love this series is The Misadventures of Tron Bonne on PS1. It is now one of the most expensive PS1 games, often for $600 or more.
Oh.
My local game store has it, and I have credit there. I don't know how much he has it listed for. I'm going to go investigate because now might be the time. Since I have a lot of credit, it's the only way I'm going to make it happen. It's still going to be a lot of money. And who knows? Maybe I'll have no money after I have a kid. Maybe the kid will just eat all the money. So
you're gonna start selling feet pics online.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get these some of these PS1 JRPGs. Let me tell you, I guess this isn't a JRPG, but
we're gonna have 2 LSM members with OnlyFans accounts actually. Then right?
I'm thinking to do the thing where you like wear a pair of socks for a day and then someone buys them, like a used pair of socks.
Yeah,
that's an idea. Mopping in socks, by the way. All right, that just adds to the value because I always mop in socks, but I'm just saying, like, write that in the listing, like these socks were worn, mopped in, etc.
Mopped in.
No, Mike has already got a business plan already.
Yeah,
for if LSM all goes down and say, well, gotta sell these mop socks.
Mop socks. Mikey, you should design a sock specifically designed for mopping.
Oh, I mean, don't they have that, right? Like, don't they have those like little like duster socks anyways? Because I just don't like being barefoot while I mop. So I'd just rather be wearing the socks,
Yeah.
I think there are socks for cleaning dry, but I think you should design, like you step in the bucket with the socks and then you're like doing like I think that could be something.
Well, you hold on to that. You hold on to that. That could be your side hustle, and then you can afford.
Now, this is your
game.
idea, Dustin.
Oh, okay.
These ideas are for you, Dustin, not for anyone else.
Mike, I have an idea to tell you about after we're done recording because I don't know if I want to do it. It's a social media idea.
Oh, hell yeah!
I'll tell you about it after. But let's get out of here so Gene can get to work, and I'm hungry too. So thanks everybody for listening. It's a good thing we're done. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Make sure you check us out on Patreon. Leave us a nice comment. We'll see you later. Goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand, LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.